Hey YouTube, I was not planning on making this video today. This is a complete spur of the moment deal, but we are back at UAB because Lee, my husband, is having back surgery, and walking through these doors at this hospital just brings back a lot of uncomfortable memories and feelings, and it's been a little bit conflicting and strange, but anyways, so I want to talk about that a little bit and just more of a relaxed environment in my car while he's in surgery. So anyways, right after this little intro is gonna be, anyways, what am I saying? Okay, my brain is like scrambled eggs right now, but following this little intro is going to be a video that I'm also going to share on TikTok, so it may repeat some information that you all are familiar with that I have not talked about on TikTok, so just letting you know that in case you're wondering why I'm explaining certain things that like most of you already know. But anyways, yeah, let's go deal with this trauma. So I'm about to tell you something that happened to me that was extremely traumatic. 2.5 years ago, I had a motorcycle wreck where I was internally decapitated, and I spent 3 months in the hospital, had a very long, difficult recovery. So believe it or not, the initial accident was not the only like horrific thing that happened to me, unfortunately. But if you're new here, I wrecked my motorcycle. I didn't make a curve. I hit a guardrail, and the guardrail kind of stopped across my stomach, but my head and my helmet like kept going, so it pulled my head off my spine basically. And very rare, most people do not survive, and the ones that do survive usually have just a lot of terrible neurologic complications. I am incredibly fortunate to have recovered as well as I have. I'm not back to normal. I'll never be back to normal. I have a lot of issues, but I don't dwell on it, and I don't complain about it because I'm just so happy to be where I'm at now. However, after the initial injury, I was put into a halo. I was intubated and on a ventilator, and I had numerous other injuries. I mean, like head to toe, just full body, major trauma. But 2 weeks after the initial accident, I had a complication that no one could have seen coming. There has not been a documented case of this in any literature that anybody could find. My neurosurgeon and I recently filmed a podcast. You can see it over on my YouTube channel, Little Trauma Mama on YouTube as well. So that podcast is like an 1.5 hours long, and it's super interesting to hear his perspective on all of this. But what happened was I developed a headache at some point, and the headache kept getting worse and worse, and I had already been discharged from neurosurgery because I didn't have a brain injury. I had the AOD, which is the medical term for the internal decapitation, and they fused my neck and kind of sent me on my way. And I didn't have any other neurological issues requiring neurosurgery to follow up on me every day. So, but anyways, I had been discharged. Well, I developed a headache, and the headache just kept getting worse and worse and worse over the course of a few days. And then what happened was, basically, my separation from my initial injury was so bad that it kind of made my brain sit a little bit lower than it did before. And so the natural outflow of your cerebral spinal fluid, mine was occluded, and nobody knew. There was no way for them to know. And when there's so much fluid accumulation or brain swelling, and your brain doesn't have anywhere to go, it goes down, meaning it herniates through the base of your skull. You don't survive that. So that's what happened to me. My headache got worse and worse and worse, and then my brain started to herniate, and I was awake and talking to my husband, and then all of a sudden I blew my pupils, I lost a gag reflex, and I quit breathing. And at that point, they had already extubated me, took me off the ventilator. So I was not breathing, pupils gone, no gag reflex. I was well on my way out of this world, and they couldn't re-intubate me because I was in this halo, and so they couldn't manipulate like my mouth or anything. So that's how I ended up with my butthole, my neck butthole. They had to do a crike at bedside, which they later turned into a trach in the OR, but to save my life, they had to immediately, in my ICU room, drill or put a drain into my brain to get the fluid off of my brain to save my life. And I have talked about this on YouTube, but so when that happened, at some point during all of the life-saving measures, I regained some awareness during these life-saving measures. And to me, it felt like a long time, but I'm sure it wasn't more than like 10 or 15 seconds, maybe. It couldn't have been very long, but I remember kind of coming back, and I could hear everything. I don't remember the things that were said. I just remember like the urgency and the tone and the kind of panicking of staff. My husband said there were well over 10 people in my room at that point, saving my life, but I could hear feet. I could hear movement. I could hear like that people were running around, and the urgency in their voices and the seriousness of their tone. And I could also hear like the sound of surgical instruments, and then I could feel like pain in my neck. I was aware that this was going on, but I couldn't tell anybody, and I couldn't move. So I thought to myself, oh my gosh, they have no idea that like I'm aware right now. They think I'm, checked out, and I couldn't move anything to tell anybody. So I put all the energy I had into trying to move a finger, because I thought if I can wiggle my fingers, then they'll know that I'm here and they'll stop. They'll do something. And eventually I was able, it was my right pointer finger, I'll never forget it, but I was finally able to just wiggle my finger. And I remember hearing a woman's voice when she noticed. I don't remember her exact words, but she vocalized, hey, she's moving her finger. And in my mind, I thought that meant that they saw it, but they didn't care. They weren't worried about it. But that wasn't the reality. In reality, they did see it, and then they turned, I guess, my propofol back on, and I was out again. But in my mind, I thought, okay, well, I moved my finger, but they're still going, and I can't do this anymore, so I'm just going to die now, is what I told myself. And in my messed up brain, I fully believed that I had complete control and that I was able to will myself to die, that I could just tell myself, okay, time to die now. And so I know it sounds crazy, but that's what I did. I said, okay, well, that didn't work, so I'm just gonna die now. And then I just tried to mentally will myself to die to get out of that situation. I know I'm not telling it in a dramatic and emotional way, but it was pretty horrific. And the worst part was that I went into a coma after that. And when I woke up from the coma, I couldn't communicate because I was back on a ventilator. I had a trach. I couldn't talk. And I was not okay. I was I was not okay. And I couldn't tell anybody what happened. I couldn't tell anybody I'm not okay. I, felt this, heard this, heard them drilling into my skull. I could smell things, and just inside I was spiraling. I was mentally spiraling, and I couldn't tell anybody. And that was just so traumatic. I don't really have a happy ending to that particular story other than it's 2.5 years later. Doing well, all things considered, but yeah. So I was internally decapitated, survived that, and then I had a brain herniation 2 weeks later, survived that. People ask me all the time if I still ride motorcycles, and the answer to that is absolutely not. No, it is not worth the risk. I have hit the lottery twice now, and I'm not taking any unnecessary chances on my life or recovery, my health. Happy to say that no, I do not still ride. But yeah, my story has been in Newsweek. It's been in People magazine. I'm going on the Daily Blast Live show here in about a week. Have a YouTube channel. I've been talking about all this for a while, but it's just now starting to get picked up in the media more. And anyways, yeah, so if you want to know more about this crazy thing that happened, head over to my YouTube channel, watch the video I posted a few days ago of me and my neurosurgeon going through all of this. And it's very interesting and rare to have those different perspectives on a crazy case like mine. If you're in the medical field, you would find it interesting. Yeah. Okay, bye.